She walked past me slowly, knowing exactly what she was doing. Merchants shouted from neon-lit stalls, offering everything from alien spices to advanced tech gadgets. Travelers from distant star systems hurried along crowded walkways, their uniforms and clothing reflecting the diversity of the galaxy. Yet despite the chaos, a quiet corner of the port remained calm. There Ilior, a young human engineer, crouched beside his hovercraft, adjusting a damaged propulsion unit. His dark hair fell over his eyes and his hands were streaked with grease. The hum of the machinery blended with the murmur of the crowd, creating a rhythm that he had come to find comforting. Ilior enjoyed machines more than people. Machines were predictable, people not so much. He tightened a bolt and wiped his hands on a rag, satisfied that the hovercraft would run smoothly again. That's when he noticed her. She walked past him slowly, moving as though every step was carefully measured. Lyra, a Thalan diplomat, was tall and slender, her skin shimmering faintly under the neon lights. Her eyes, sharp and bright, seemed to scan the spaceport while simultaneously fixing on Ilior. She moved with the confidence of someone used to attention, but not the need for it. Every movement appeared deliberate, almost like a dance that only she knew the steps to. Ilior froze. He had seen diplomats before, but none like her. There was something about the way she walked, slow, careful, but entirely unhurried. That made him feel as though time had stretched for just a moment. It was as if she knew exactly what she was doing and he was part of her plan, whether he liked it or not. He shook his head, trying to focus on the hovercraft, but curiosity gnawed at him. He dared a glance, only to find her watching him, not with judgment, but with an interest that was almost scientific. Ilior felt a strange mixture of nervousness and admiration. He had spent his life understanding machines, logic circuits, and propulsion systems, yet the complexity of human, or alien, behavior still baffled him. Lyra continued walking past, her steps measured and smooth. When she reached the end of the platform, she paused, glanced back at Ilior, and gave the faintest of nods. Just that small gesture, almost invisible, sent a ripple through him. It was recognition, connection, perhaps even a challenge. He shook his head again, trying to convince himself that it was nothing. She was a diplomat, after all, visiting the spaceport, observing people, maybe studying the culture of humans. Nothing more. And yet every part of him wanted to follow her to see where she went next. The crowd seemed oblivious to the silent tension between them. Children ran past with floating toys, traders shouted their offers, and distant ships roared as they lifted off. But Ilior's focus remained on her. And when she disappeared behind a line of massive cargo cranes, he realized something he hadn't expected. He wanted to see her again. Hours passed. Ilior finished repairing the hovercraft and tested its systems, letting it hover gently a few feet above the platform. The machine hummed in approval, responding perfectly to his commands. Satisfied, he stepped back, intending to leave the spaceport and return to his small workshop in the city. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw her again. Lyra was near the central square this time, standing by a holographic map of the local sector. She tilted her head, studying the floating lights, the star systems, and the small icons that marked trade routes. Yet when she noticed Ilior watching her, her lips curved slightly into a smile. Not a smile of friendliness, too subtle for that, but a smile of understanding, as if she already knew the thoughts racing through his mind. Ilior's curiosity overwhelmed him. He approached her cautiously, unsure whether he should speak or simply observe. The closer he got, the more he noticed details. The faint shimmer of her skin, the way her eyes seemed to adjust to the holographic lights, the subtle way she positioned herself to take in everything around her. Everything about her was precise, intentional. "Hello," he said finally, his voice louder than he intended. I didn't mean to intrude." Lyra turned fully to face him, her eyes locking on his. "You are Ilior, the engineer?" she asked, her voice calm, almost melodic. He blinked. "Yes, how do you know that?" "I observe," she replied simply. Then, as if sensing his unease, she added, "Your work with propulsion systems is remarkable. The Council of Thalan takes note of human ingenuity." Ilior's heart skipped a beat. The Council of Thalan was a governing body that oversaw interstellar relations and trade agreements. Humans rarely interacted with them directly. To be noticed by a Thalan diplomat was an honor and a little terrifying. "I thank you," he managed. I like solving problems, that's all." Lyra tilted her head slightly, studying him. That is exactly what I find fascinating about humans. You are calm, focused, yet capable of sudden inspiration. Your species adapts in ways others rarely do. Ilior felt a strange warmth at her words. He had never considered himself remarkable, just diligent. And yet here she was, analyzing him as though he were a case study, and he didn't mind. He was curious about her as well. Why was she so interested in humans, and why had she singled him out? Before he could ask, Lyra turned, walking slowly toward the edge of the square. Her movement drew attention effortlessly. People paused to look, but she seemed unaware, or perhaps unconcerned. Ilior followed her at a careful distance, his mind racing with questions. As they reached a quieter section of the spaceport, Lyra paused again. She looked back at him, this time with a faint hint of amusement. "You are persistent," she said. I didn't mean to follow," Ilior admitted. "I'm just curious about you and the council." Lyra's eyes softened, though her expression remained composed. "Curiosity is good. It is how humans have thrived. It is also why I am here, to understand humans better, to see how you think, how you act when no one expects it." Ilior considered her words carefully. "So you're studying humans?" "Yes," she said simply, "and perhaps learning from them." The simplicity of her statement belied its weight. He realized that this encounter was not random. Lyra had chosen him, or perhaps humans in general, to observe, and that thought filled him with a mix of pride and responsibility. He was just one human among billions, yet here he was, standing in the presence of someone studying humanity. For the first time, Ilior felt a spark of something beyond curiosity, something that felt like destiny. He wanted to rise to the occasion, to prove that humans were worthy of attention, worthy of recognition in a galaxy filled with ancient, advanced civilizations. Lyra finally turned to leave, her long stride purposeful. She moved past him slowly again, almost as if she were reminding him of the first moment he had seen her. Ilior watched her go, a strange sense of anticipation building within him. Something was about to change, he realized. He did not know how or why, but the encounter with Lyra had shifted the course of his day, and perhaps much more. As he returned to his hovercraft, Ilior's mind replayed every detail. Her deliberate walk, her careful observation, her quiet admiration of human qualities, everything pointed to something greater than a simple diplomatic visit. He couldn't explain it, but he felt that the galaxy had just become bigger, more alive, and more mysterious. For Ilior, the spaceport no longer seemed just a place of commerce and travel. It had become the starting point of an adventure that involved understanding humans in a way he had never considered, and meeting someone who seemed to know exactly what she was doing. The hum of his hovercraft filled the silence as he activated it, watching it rise gracefully into the air. Outside, the city of Ardali's prime shimmered under the twin suns, casting long shadows across the platforms. Ilior's heart raced. He knew that this was only the beginning, and that the slow, deliberate walk of one mysterious diplomat had changed everything. And somewhere among the crowd, Lyra paused once more, glanced back, and smiled faintly, knowing that the spark of curiosity she had ignited would not fade easily. The city of Ardali's prime was alive at night. Neon lights glowed from towering buildings, casting colors across the streets that reflected off the polished hoverpaths. Traders shouted from their stalls, and travelers hurried past, some carrying crates of rare goods from distant planets. The hum of hovercraft engines filled the air, blending with the chatter of dozens of languages. Ilior walked through the streets, his mind still focused on the encounter from the spaceport. He could not stop thinking about Lyra, the way she had moved, her calm confidence, and the subtle glance she had given him. For hours, he had tried to convince himself that it was just chance, that a diplomat moving through a city often passed by strangers. But deep down, he knew it was not chance. She had been deliberate. She had walked past him slowly, knowing exactly what she was doing. He shook his head and muttered to himself, "Why is she following me or observing me?" The thought made his stomach twist with nervous excitement. Ilior had always been a private person, careful to remain unnoticed. But now he felt seen in a way he had never experienced before, and strangely it excited him. Hours later, Ilior returned to his workshop, a small space tucked into the lower levels of a bustling residential district. It was a place where he could focus without interruptions. Tools and parts were neatly arranged on walls, and various machines were in different stages of repair. Yet even here, he could not shake the feeling that someone was watching, studying his every move. It happened again. A soft holographic notification appeared on his personal terminal. He glanced at it, expecting a routine message from the city's maintenance system. Instead, a small image flickered to life. Lyra. She was looking directly at him, her expression calm, almost amused. There was no sound, only the faint glow of her image, as if she had projected herself from afar. Ilior's heart skipped a beat. He had never received a communication like this before. The image was not threatening, but it carried a message he could not ignore. It was a challenge. A text appeared beside the image. Observe, adapt, learn, then act. Ilior blinked. He had no idea what it meant, but he felt a thrill run through him. Here was a diplomat, someone from an advanced alien species, inviting him to a game, an experiment. He did not know, but he felt an urge to rise to the challenge. The next morning, as he walked through the bustling city streets, Ilior noticed her again. Lyra was near a marketplace, watching traders with careful attention. When she saw him, she smiled faintly, just enough to make him aware of her presence. He felt as if he were part of a larger story he did not yet understand. Curiosity pushed him closer. He watched her from a distance, noticing how she studied the people around her. She was precise. Her gaze lingered on small gestures, the way humans carried themselves, the choices they made when no one was watching. Ilior realized she was studying him, and through him, observing human behavior. Over the next few days, Ilior found Lyra appearing in unexpected places. Sometimes it was near his workshop, observing him as he repaired machines. Other times she appeared in public squares, watching him from afar. Every encounter was brief, subtle, and carefully measured. It was a subtle game, and Ilior quickly understood the rules. She would not speak directly unless necessary, and he was expected to notice, to learn, and perhaps to act. It was as if she were testing the limits of his curiosity and observation. One evening, Ilior followed her through the city, staying at a careful distance. Lyra moved with deliberate grace, yet she never looked rushed. She paused at intersections, studied signage, and even interacted briefly with street merchants, all while maintaining awareness of Ilior's presence. He realized she was teaching him something without saying a word: observation, patience, awareness. She was showing him that humans, though capable of incredible creativity and adaptability, could also be taught to see beyond the obvious, to notice patterns, to understand motives, and to predict outcomes. Finally, Lyra stopped in a quiet plaza, where holographic projections of stars and planets rotated slowly in the night air. The plaza was empty except for the faint hum of the projection system. She turned to Ilior, her eyes sharp and calculating, yet carrying a hint of warmth. "You are learning quickly," she said softly. Ilior nodded, unsure of what to say. I think I understand. You're testing me?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Not testing, observing. Humans are unpredictable in ways even my species finds difficult to understand. You are one of the few I have noticed who adapts without fear, without hesitation, without losing focus." Ilior felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. He had never considered himself remarkable, but here was someone from a species far older and more advanced than humans, praising his adaptability. "Why me?" he asked quietly. Lyra tilted her head. "Because you represent something rare. Humanity is resilient, creative, and morally aware. You notice small details, you adapt, and yet you do not lose your essence. The Council wishes to understand your species, to see how humans think and act. You are part of that understanding." The weight of her words settled over him. Ilior was not just being observed as an individual, he was representing his entire species. The responsibility was immense, yet he felt ready for it. Humans were capable of more than even aliens could imagine, and now he had the chance to demonstrate it. Over the next few days, the subtle game continued. Lyra left small clues for him, messages projected into his terminal, hints about complex problems in the city that required creative solutions, and indirect challenges that tested his patience and ingenuity. Ilior began to notice patterns in her behavior. She moved not just to observe, but to teach. Every encounter carried a lesson: attention to detail, moral decision-making, innovation, and adaptability. He learned to anticipate her appearances, to read her subtle signals, and to act with precision. One afternoon, he encountered a technical problem in the city's hoverway system. A small transport vehicle had malfunctioned, its navigation circuits offline, and it was slowly drifting toward a crowded intersection. Panic spread among the pedestrians, but Ilior acted instinctively. He ran to the vehicle, analyzed the circuits, and implemented a temporary override that guided it safely to a nearby platform. The crowd watched in awe, unaware that their safety had depended on quick thinking and knowledge of complex human engineering. From a distance, Lyra observed. Her eyes shone with approval, though she said nothing. Ilior understood her reaction without words. Humans could solve problems creatively and efficiently, even under pressure. And humans did not act solely out of logic. They acted with care, with morality, with the understanding of consequences that machines alone could not comprehend. That evening, Lyra appeared once more, standing quietly in the plaza. Ilior approached, still catching his breath from the day's events. "You act quickly," she said, "but more importantly, you think about the effects of your actions on others. That is why humans survive, why you thrive, not just intelligence, not just skill, empathy, morality." Understanding. Ilior felt a sense of pride swelling within him. She was right. Humans were capable of extraordinary feats, not because they were the strongest or the fastest, but because they combined intelligence with heart. "Why are you teaching me this?" he asked. "Because observation alone is not enough," Lyra replied. "You must also understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and the qualities that make humans unique. Only then can the Council see your species for what it truly is." Ilior nodded slowly. He realized that this was more than a subtle game. This was preparation for something greater. Humanity, often underestimated by older, advanced civilizations, was about to be recognized for its ingenuity, morality, and adaptability. And he had the honor of representing it, even in small ways. As he left the plaza, Ilior felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. The city lights seemed brighter, the air more alive, and every passerby a reminder of the potential that humans carried within them. Lyra's slow, deliberate walk through the spaceport had started this chain of events, and now he understood. Observation was not passive. It was active, learning, and teaching, and he was part of it. That night, as the twin moons rose over Ardali's prime, Ilior looked out over the city from his workshop window. He thought about Lyra, her deliberate steps, her careful observation, and the lessons she had imparted without speaking a word. Humanity was about to face a galaxy of challenges and opportunities, and he was ready to rise to them. Somewhere in the city, Lyra walked again, slow and deliberate. She moved as though she had a purpose, and in truth, she did. She was not just observing. She was guiding, teaching, and preparing. And Ilior, through his curiosity and courage, was learning exactly what it meant to be human in a galaxy that was watching closely. The subtle game had only just begun, and both of them, one human, one Thalan diplomat, were part of a story far larger than either could have imagined. Ilior woke to the pale light of Ardali's Prime's twin suns spilling into his small workshop. The city below buzzed as usual, hovercrafts drifting through the sky lanes and vendors calling to the early morning crowd. Yet today, there was a sense of tension in his chest, an invisible weight he could not shake. He knew Lyra would appear again. And he had a feeling today would be different. He was not wrong. By midday, Ilior noticed movement in the plaza outside. There she was, Lyra, standing in the open space, hands folded lightly in front of her, her gaze sweeping across the city streets. She looked calm, deliberate as always, yet today her eyes held a new intensity. Ilior approached cautiously, his steps careful on the polished stones. "You are punctual," Lyra said softly, as if she had been expecting him to arrive exactly at this moment. I don't want to keep you waiting," Ilior replied, slightly out of breath. "I'm ready." Lyra's lips curved into a faint, approving smile. "Then come, it is time for you to see the larger purpose of your actions, to understand why I have been observing you." Curiosity and nerves mixed inside Ilior as he followed her through the winding streets of Ardali's Prime. They left the crowded districts behind, moving into quieter zones where holographic projections of star systems glowed in the sky above. Finally, they reached a high observation tower, its glass walls providing a panoramic view of the city and the orbiting stars beyond. "Sit," Lyra said, gesturing to a smooth platform at the center of the tower. Ilior complied, eyes drawn to the rotating projections of galaxies, each star and planet labeled in alien script he did not understand. Yet something about the display felt familiar, as if the patterns echoed truths he had always known. Lyra joined him, her eyes focused on the projections. "Do you see these stars, Ilior?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "They are many and far away, too many to count," she nodded. "Correct, and yet each one is connected in ways your species has only begun to understand. Each civilization, each life, contributes to a larger pattern. Some are stable, some chaotic, some thrive, and others vanish. The galaxy is older than humanity, older than my species, but your species is new, and that is why I am here." Ilior frowned slightly. "Here for humans?" Lyra looked at him, her eyes intense. "Yes, the Council of Thalon is older than most known civilizations. We govern trade, communication, and alliances across star systems. For centuries, we have debated whether humans should be included in the wider galactic network. Many view your species as unpredictable, dangerous, or untested, but I have observed something different." Ilior's pulse quickened. He had suspected this, but hearing it aloud made it real. He was not just being observed, humanity itself was being evaluated. "You," Lyra continued, "are part of that observation, not as a single human, but as a symbol of your species' potential. Your adaptability, intelligence, and moral judgment are qualities we rarely see combined in one being. I have studied you, watched your decisions, your reactions, and your care for others. You have proven that humans can handle responsibility, innovation, and challenges beyond your own world." Ilior felt both pride and anxiety. The weight of representing all of humanity was immense. He was just a young engineer from a small city, yet here he was, standing on a stage larger than any he could have imagined. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "There are billions of humans, why choose me?" Lyra's gaze softened slightly. "Because you act without arrogance, with curiosity, with focus. You observe, adapt, and think critically. You combine skill with empathy. You are not perfect, but you are human, and that is exactly why you were chosen." Ilior swallowed hard. He had always believed that humans were clever and resilient, but he had never imagined that other civilizations would take notice in such a direct way. And yet, looking at Lyra, he felt the truth of her words. "Today," Lyra said, "I will show you something few humans have ever seen." She waved her hand, and a holographic projection expanded before them. The image showed multiple planets, systems, and fleets of ships moving in intricate formations. Some planets glowed brightly, others darkened with storms or decay. This is the Council's record of life and civilization across the galaxy. Each system is part of a larger network, governed by laws, alliances, and challenges that maintain balance. And now humans are being considered for inclusion. Ilior's eyes widened. "We humans, really?" "Yes," Lyra said, "but inclusion is not given lightly. Other species have existed for millennia. Humans are young, untested, unpredictable. That is why observation is necessary. That is why I watched you carefully over the past weeks. You are the first step toward understanding humanity in practice, not just theory." Ilior sat quietly, taking in the enormity of her words. He realized that the subtle tests, the hoverway challenge, the careful observation, the hidden messages were all part of this process. They were not personal. They were preparation, training, evaluation. "You've been teaching me," he said slowly, "without really telling me." "All those messages, challenges, it was all." "Yes," Lyra confirmed. "Observation is one thing. Understanding requires experience. You faced problems, solved them, considered consequences, and acted morally. That is the proof humans can handle what lies beyond their planet. Intelligence alone is not enough. Morality, empathy, and adaptability are equally important." Ilior's mind raced. He had never thought of his skills in this way. He had always seen his work as technical, repairing machines, solving problems, but Lyra's words framed it differently. Human ingenuity was not just about mechanics or logic. It was about creativity combined with conscience. That was what made humans special. Lyra's eyes studied him carefully. "The Council will make its decision soon, but you have shown them a glimpse of what humanity can be. And this is only the beginning. Your species is about to enter a larger stage, and your actions, decisions, and morality will be a part of that story." Ilior felt a mixture of awe and determination. He realized that the subtle game she had played was preparation for a challenge far greater than he had imagined. The galaxy was watching, and humans were about to show their worth. "Will there be more tests?" he asked. Lyra smiled faintly. "Yes, observation alone is not enough. Experience, challenges, and decisions will follow. But you have already proven something important. Humans think, adapt, and care. That combination is rare even among advanced species. For a moment, Ilior simply looked at the stars projected above them. The vastness of the galaxy, the countless civilizations, and the immense possibilities stretched out before him. He felt small, yet at the same time, he understood the weight of his species' potential. Humans were young, but they were capable of greatness. "You have a choice, Ilior," Lyra said, her voice soft but firm. "You can continue as you have, living quietly, solving problems for your city, your people. Or you can step forward, learn more, and represent humanity in ways few humans ever will. This is your opportunity to shape the future." Ilior thought about the subtle games, the challenges, and the moments where he had acted without hesitation, guided only by instinct and morality. He realized that every choice he had made had prepared him for this very moment. I want to step forward," he said finally. "I want to understand, I want to help humanity be recognized, and I want to learn from you." Lyra nodded, her expression unreadable for a moment, then softened. "Then you will begin. The first step is understanding, observation, and preparation. The next steps will require courage, creativity, and moral judgment. You will be challenged in ways you cannot yet imagine. But I have faith in you and in humanity." Ilior felt a surge of pride and responsibility. The subtle game had ended, replaced by a larger purpose. Humanity, a young and seemingly fragile species, was about to enter a galaxy filled with civilizations far older and more advanced. And he, a single human engineer, had a role to play. For the first time, Ilior saw himself not just as an individual, but as a representative of something greater. Humans were clever, adaptable, and morally aware. They could learn, innovate, and rise to challenges that even older species might find difficult. And with guidance from Lyra, he would show the galaxy exactly what humans were capable of. As the sun began to set over Ardali's prime, casting long shadows across the city, Ilior stood beside Lyra at the observation tower. The holographic stars rotated above them, each a reminder of the vastness of space and the possibilities that lay ahead. "This is only the beginning," Lyra said. "The galaxy watches, and humanity will rise." Ilior nodded, determination burning in his chest. The subtle games, the quiet observations, and the challenges of the past weeks had led him here. And now, with the truth revealed, he was ready to step into a role far greater than himself, to show the galaxy the brilliance, courage, and heart of humanity. The stars above shone brighter than ever, as if acknowledging the promise of a new chapter for humans. Ilior felt a spark of hope, pride, and responsibility all at once. And somewhere in the distance, he knew Lyra's careful observation and guidance would continue to shape the journey that lay ahead. Humanity had been noticed. And for the first time, Ilior felt truly ready to show what humans could do. The distant stars twinkled above the orbiting station, their light spilling through the large observation windows like silver rivers. The station, abandoned for centuries, hung in silence around a volatile star. Its metal walls were pitted and worn, and the hum of its ancient systems filled the corridors with a low vibration. It was the perfect place for the Council's challenge, isolated, complex, and unpredictable. Ilior stood at the entrance, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. He had never left Ardali's prime in this way, never traveled so far from home, and never faced a challenge of this magnitude. Yet he felt ready. The lessons Lyra had taught him, patience, observation, creativity, morality, had prepared him for this moment. Lyra walked beside him, her steps slow and deliberate as always. "This station has been used for tests by the Council for generations," she explained. "It is not meant to be easy. You will encounter situations that challenge your mind, your heart, and your instincts. You may succeed or fail, but remember this is not a test of strength alone. It is a test of intelligence, creativity, and judgment." Ilior nodded, gripping the strap of his satchel. "I understand," he said. "I'll do my best." Lyra paused at the main docking bay, where a small hovering transport floated silently. "Your first challenge begins immediately. You must reach the central control hub and stabilize the station's failing systems. Along the way, you will encounter obstacles, mechanical, environmental, and ethical. Each decision matters. Proceed carefully." Without another word, she activated a small platform, and it lifted Ilior smoothly toward the interior of the station. He took a deep breath, feeling the gravity shift beneath him. The station was massive, with long corridors, crumbling stairwells, and exposed conduits that carried unknown energies. The air smelled faintly metallic, and the silence was broken only by the occasional hiss of pressure vents. Ilior's first obstacle came quickly. A section of the corridor had collapsed, leaving a gap too wide to jump across. He noticed exposed wiring along the edges and a series of control panels nearby. Thinking quickly, he manipulated the panels, rerouting power to create a temporary magnetic bridge. It held just long enough for him to cross safely. From above, Lyra's presence was invisible, but he felt her observation like a gentle weight on his shoulder. Every decision mattered. Every choice was part of the subtle game she had started weeks ago, and now it had escalated into life-or-death stakes. The corridors grew darker as he moved deeper into the station. Shadows stretched across rusted floors, and the faint hum of failing machinery grew louder, almost threatening. Suddenly, a warning signal flashed. A section of the station's core was overheating, threatening to ignite a chain reaction. Ilior's hands moved quickly over the control panels, analyzing the problem. He realized that stabilizing the system would require shutting down a secondary subsystem, one that powered life support units for a small population of alien refugees housed temporarily on the station. He froze. This was the moral test Lyra had mentioned. Should he prioritize the station's core, risking the lives of the refugees, or focus on protecting them and potentially destabilize the entire station? He thought back to her lessons. Intelligence alone was not enough. Morality, empathy, and careful judgment mattered. He took a deep breath and rerouted power to maintain life support while diverting a temporary overload through emergency conduits. Sparks flew, alarms blared, but the station stabilized without harm to the inhabitants. Lyra appeared in the observation hologram above him, her eyes studying every movement. A faint nod of approval passed across her face. Ilior felt a surge of confidence. He had passed the first true test. The next obstacle was physical and mental. A hallway ahead was filled with shifting panels and moving platforms designed to test agility and spatial reasoning. As Ilior stepped forward, the floor beneath him shifted unpredictably, sending him sliding toward a narrow passage. He jumped, rolled, and adjusted his movements in perfect timing, learning the rhythm of the mechanical challenge as he went. Along the way, he encountered a series of logic puzzles embedded in the station's systems. Some required rerouting energy flows, others decoding alien symbols, and a few demanded creative problem-solving. Ilior worked through them steadily, applying both his engineering knowledge and the observational skills Lyra had taught him. Hours passed. His clothes were smudged with grime, and his hands were cut and bruised from sharp metal edges. Yet he continued, driven by the understanding that this was more than a personal challenge. It was a representation of humanity's potential. Every correct solution, every careful decision, was a testament to human adaptability and intelligence. Finally, Ilior reached the central control hub. The room was massive, with banks of panels, glowing readouts, and a holographic map of the station projected into the center. The core system was unstable, pulses of energy fluctuating dangerously. He studied the system quickly. Several subsystems required simultaneous adjustments, and the station's integrity depended on precise timing. His mind raced, calculating, analyzing, and predicting outcomes. One wrong move could collapse the station entirely. Lyra's hologram appeared above him. "You may notice anomalies that do not follow logic," she warned. "Do not be distracted by them. Focus on the principles you have learned, observe carefully, adapt quickly, and act with purpose." Ilior nodded, focusing intently. He identified the root causes of instability and implemented a series of corrections, rerouting power, stabilizing energy pulses, and resetting critical systems. As he worked, he realized the station had hidden redundancies, almost like the designers anticipated human ingenuity might succeed where automated systems failed. Suddenly, a security drone malfunctioned, its protective protocols misfiring. It advanced toward him aggressively. Ilior had no weapon, only his intelligence and the tools in his satchel. He noticed a nearby energy conduit and quickly calculated a diversion, using the drone's own sensors against it. The drone paused, redirected its path, and deactivated safely. Ilior exhaled, heart pounding, and continued his work. The final obstacle was moral. The station's AI presented a scenario. A section of the hull was failing, threatening to vent oxygen into space. Two options appeared: seal the section immediately, which would trap a small group of researchers inside temporarily, or divert resources to stabilize the core, risking the lives of the researchers if the delay was too long. Ilior hesitated. The choice mirrored real decisions humans often faced: intelligence versus empathy. He considered his options carefully, analyzing risk, calculating probabilities, and weighing the moral consequences. He finally chose to prioritize sealing the hull, saving the researchers first, while coordinating a delayed but safe stabilization of the core. The system hummed in approval, lights returning to a steady glow. The station was fully stabilized. Ilior leaned back, exhausted, bruised, and exhilarated. Lyra appeared beside him in person this time, walking slowly, deliberately, her gaze fixed on him. "You have passed," she said quietly. "Not because the station was stabilized, but because of the choices you made." Intelligence, creativity, and moral judgment, these are qualities the Council values. You have shown them that humans are capable of more than expected. You have proven the subtle balance between thinking and caring, acting and judging. This is why you were observed. This is why humans were watched. Ilior felt a surge of pride. It was one thing to succeed in engineering or to solve puzzles on his own world. It was another entirely to succeed in a challenge designed by one of the galaxy's oldest and most advanced civilizations. And yet he had done more than survive. He had represented the best qualities of humanity. Lyra's gaze softened. "You have learned well. The subtle game, the observations, the hidden lessons, they have led you here. Humanity will be recognized not because of power or dominance, but because of intelligence, empathy, creativity, and courage. These are qualities rare in any species, even one as advanced as mine." Ilior looked at the vast stars outside the station windows, feeling both small and incredibly significant at the same time. He had faced the test, acted wisely, and survived. Yet more challenges awaited, more learning, more decisions, and ultimately, more opportunities to prove that humanity could thrive in the galaxy. Lyra's slow, deliberate steps carried her to the observation panel. She gestured to the stars beyond. "This is only the beginning. You will return to your world, but the experiences here will stay with you. Humans will be given opportunities, responsibilities, and challenges far greater than this station, and you will play a part in shaping that future." Ilior nodded, determination burning in his chest. He had learned, adapted, and acted. He had proven that humans were capable of creativity, intelligence, and empathy combined. And now, as he prepared to return to Ardali's prime, he understood that the galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to rise. The stars outside the observation windows shimmered, casting a silver glow on the station's worn walls. Ilior felt a sense of pride and responsibility unlike anything he had ever known. The test had been completed, but the journey was far from over. Humanity's story in the galaxy was only beginning, and he was ready to play his part. The subtle game, the observation, the challenge, it had all led to this moment of revelation. And Ilior, bruised, tired, and exhilarated, smiled faintly. The galaxy would soon see what humans were capable of. The city of Ardali's prime shimmered under the light of its twin suns. Hovercrafts glided gracefully through the sky lanes, neon signs flickered in rhythmic patterns, and the streets buzzed with life as traders, travelers, and residents moved through the bustling districts. Yet despite the familiar sounds and sights, there was a quiet sense of anticipation in the air, a feeling that something extraordinary was about to happen. Ilior stood at the edge of the central plaza, gazing up at the sky where a fleet of ships from the Council of Thallin hovered above the city. Their sleek designs reflected the sunlight, casting glimmers of light across the plaza. The citizens of Ardali's prime had gathered to watch, murmuring in awe at the arrival of the alien delegation. Most had only heard stories of the Council, a governing body older than most known civilizations, but few had ever witnessed them in person. Ilior felt a mix of pride, nervousness, and excitement. Months had passed since his initial encounter with Lyra, months filled with subtle observation, challenges, and the test aboard the abandoned station. And now, humanity's future in the galaxy was about to be decided. Lyra appeared beside him, moving with her usual calm, deliberate grace. She looked at him and smiled faintly, the same subtle smile that had first captured his attention in the spaceport. "You are ready," she said softly. "The Council has watched your actions." They have seen your intelligence, your creativity, and your moral judgment. Today, humanity will be recognized, not because of power, but because of the qualities that make your species unique. Ilior took a deep breath. I hope we are ready, he said. Lyra's eyes softened. Humans are always ready, even when they do not realize it. You have already proven that. The crowd hushed as the main council ship descended, its hull reflecting the bright sunlight. The doors opened, and a delegation of Thalan diplomats floated down, their movements precise and graceful. The lead diplomat stepped forward, a being with elongated features and shimmering silver skin, radiating an aura of authority. We have observed humanity, the diplomat said, voice clear and resonant, carried perfectly across the plaza by advanced audio technology. We have watched your species adapt, innovate, and act with intelligence and moral purpose. The Council has debated, studied, and considered. And now the decision has been made. Ilior felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. All the subtle games, the tests, and the challenges had led to this instant. He thought about the station, the logic puzzles, the moral choices, and the quick thinking that had saved lives. Every action mattered, every decision counted, and now humanity's fate hung in the balance. The lead diplomat continued. The Council recognizes humanity as a member of the Interstellar Alliance. Your species is young, yet it has demonstrated qualities rare even among advanced civilizations. Intelligence, adaptability, creativity, and empathy, these are your strengths. These are the reasons humanity belongs among the stars. A wave of awe swept through the crowd. Citizens of Ardali's prime cheered, some wiping tears from their eyes. Hovercrafts drifted closer, capturing the moment on visual feeds. Ilior stood silently, overwhelmed by the realization that humans, his people, had been recognized by one of the oldest galactic powers. Lyra turned to him, her expression calm but approving. You have played your part well, she said. Your actions during observation, your response to challenges, and your moral decisions were all noted. You represented your species faithfully. Ilior shook his head in disbelief. It wasn't just me, he said. It was everyone. Humanity is all of us. We learn, adapt, and care together. Lyra nodded. Exactly. Your humility is another strength. Remember, it is not one individual, but the qualities of the species as a whole that matter. Yet, individuals like you serve as examples, proof that humans are capable of greatness. As the crowd celebrated, Lyra gestured toward the sky, where the Council's fleet hovered silently. This is just the beginning, she said. Humans will have opportunities to learn from other civilizations, contribute to interstellar projects, and face challenges beyond your planet. But you now have a place among the stars, and humanity's journey has truly begun. Ilior looked out over the crowd, his heart swelling with pride. People of all ages, shapes, and colors were cheering, unaware of the subtle decisions and moral courage that had helped humanity achieve this moment. And somewhere in the crowd, he noticed young engineers, children, and dreamers staring at the sky with wide eyes, imagining the possibilities that lay ahead. The recognition by the Council was more than an honor. It was a call to responsibility. Humanity would now be expected to contribute to interstellar knowledge, innovation, and cooperation. Ilior understood that every choice humans made would now be visible to civilizations far older and more experienced. And yet, he felt hope, not fear. Later, Ilior returned to his workshop, reflecting on the events of the day. Lyra had stayed behind, offering guidance and counsel, but allowed him to process the recognition in his own way. He examined his tools, his machines, and the work he had done, realizing that each small act of ingenuity, care, and decision-making had contributed to humanity's recognition. He remembered the test aboard the station, the moment when he had chosen to protect the lives of others over the immediate technical solution. That decision, simple yet profound, had shown the Council what humans were capable of. Humans did not act solely for efficiency or logic, they acted with conscience. That was their strength, their uniqueness, and now their place in the galaxy. Lyra approached him quietly, standing in the doorway of his workshop. You have learned much, she said. But remember, this recognition is not the end. It is a responsibility. Humans are now part of a larger story. You will face challenges, decisions, and opportunities that will test your species' qualities further. Ilior nodded. I understand. And I want to help humanity rise to those challenges. Lyra's eyes softened. Then you will continue to learn, observe, and act. You have already shown that humans can rise to challenges with intelligence, empathy, and courage, but there is still more to achieve. The galaxy is vast and your species is young. There is much to do. Over the following weeks, humanity began to take its place among the stars. Delegations from the Council visited Ardali's Prime, sharing knowledge of advanced technologies, interstellar politics, and collaborative projects. Human scientists, engineers, and explorers began working alongside representatives from other civilizations. And in every meeting, every project, and every mission, the lessons Ilior had learned during his subtle observation, his test, and his challenges became examples for others. Ilior continued his work as an engineer, but now with a broader purpose. He designed new propulsion systems, worked on interstellar communication devices, and collaborated with both humans and aliens on complex projects. And through it all, he never forgot the subtle guidance Lyra had provided, the careful observation, the hidden lessons, the moral challenges, and the tests of ingenuity. One evening, as the sun set over Ardali's Prime, Lyra and Ilior stood atop the observation tower once more. The city glowed below them, alive and vibrant, while above, the stars stretched endlessly into the void. "Do you see it now?" Lyra asked. "The galaxy is watching, humanity has been recognized, but the journey has only begun." Ilior looked out over the stars, feeling a sense of pride, responsibility, and excitement. "I see it," he said, "and I'm ready." Lyra's faint smile appeared, the same smile that had first drawn his attention in the spaceport months ago. "Then let the journey continue," she said. As they watched the stars, Ilior realized that humanity's story in the galaxy was just beginning. Humans were young, yet capable of brilliance, creativity, and moral courage. They had been recognized not for dominance, but for qualities that set them apart. Intelligence combined with empathy, innovation guided by conscience, and courage tempered by responsibility. And somewhere in the endless expanse of stars, humans were already taking their first steps into a future filled with possibility, guided by lessons learned, and inspired by the knowledge that they belonged among the stars. Ilior turned to Lyra. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For showing me, for guiding me, for believing in humanity." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "You did not need my guidance alone. You acted with your own heart and mind. Humanity has proven itself, and you helped show that. Remember this, humans are capable of greatness, and the galaxy will soon see the full measure of your potential." Ilior nodded, feeling a quiet determination settle within him. The subtle games, the observation, and the test had prepared him for this moment. Humanity had been recognized, but now the real work began, to live up to that recognition, to rise to new challenges, and to explore the galaxy with courage, intelligence, and heart. As the twin suns set, casting long shadows across Ardali's Prime, Ilior felt hope fill him. Humanity had been noticed, recognized, and welcomed among the stars. And for the first time, he understood the full meaning of Lyra's careful steps, her deliberate observations, and the subtle lessons she had imparted. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown civilizations, challenges, and wonders. Yet humanity, with its unique combination of intelligence, creativity, and empathy, was ready. And Ilior, humble yet determined, would play his part in showing the universe what humans could achieve. The stars above shimmered brightly, reflecting the promise of a new chapter in human history. And as Ilior stood alongside Lyra, he knew that this was not the end, it was only the beginning. Humanity had been recognized. Humanity would rise. And the galaxy would never be the same again.